Reflecting on your journey from school to success, are there any pieces of advice you wish you had received when you were a student?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. Shankara has had a deep impact on me as a person from my very young days. I started there in the sixth grade. Now, until the 10th grade, I would be around 17th or 18th rank. They used to give ranks at that time. Luckily, they don't do it now. But as I get the ranks, over a period of time, I came to the conclusion that maybe I don't have the talent that the class toppers had. Somehow they had something that I don't have. I am a child, right? I'm not talking to anybody about my issues. I'm making up my own mind. So I used to think that. Now, what happened in the 11th grade, and this used to be the practice, and I think even now it happens, right? And when you clear 10th grade, a lot of people switch their boards. They want to get high marks, whatever it is that drives them. So, of the 40 to 45 people class, we were left with 9 students in the science class and 2 students in the commerce class in the 11th grade in Shankara. Now, I used to be in the last bench, kind of play book cricket. Since I had concluded that I don't have it in me to do well, I had like at least enjoy myself in school, play cricket, whatever it is. But when 11th grade came, and with now only 9 students, there was no escaping the teacher's attention. There is nothing called first bench, last bench. There was only one row we had to sit in directly in front of the teacher. Teacher is within like breathing distance. It's like that close. Now, as luck was have it, so interestingly, of all the students that left, all the toppers had left, which left only the 9 people in science who I would say we were all of us were middle of the pack. Some of them were a little bit ahead, but most of us were the middle ranking students. You can say average if you were to judge it like that. We were considered to be average students until that point. So a new teacher, math teacher by name N. Rajendran comes. Okay, this is one of the pivotal moments in my life, I believe, which I didn't realize for a long time. When I look back, I see that. So N. Rajendran sir, unfortunately, is no more. He died pretty young. He had a big mustache, and he was quite well built, and he would have a mustache. We used to be scared of him at first. Like, he's saying something we have to do. The thing that he tried to do, which of course it took me a long time to understand what he was trying to do, he made math look very simple. Until that point in time, I considered math the hardest. I used to get 50, 60%. Even in my 10th board exam, when I look back, I got like 60. So today, if I got 60, I wouldn't even get the science group. Schools would simply say you're not suitable for the science thing, you go to some other thing, is what the school told me. At that point, they were gracious enough to take, I guess, I don't know, they didn't have probably much choice with only 9 students left, whatever, but we got into the science. So he made it seem simple, and his thing was very simple. Practice till your hands hurt. He will give us like 100 problems and you have to solve it. And we kept on doing it, and the first quarterly exam came around, and I did extremely well in math. I surprised myself by saying, oh, now if you look from a philosophical standpoint, what I learned, which was not clear at that point, but the idea is germinating in my head, results are a direct proportion to your effort. So, because of my incorrect beliefs and mindset, I was not actually putting in the effort to study. No wonder I didn't get the marks. It's actually pretty simple. But then nobody sat me down and explained this to me. Even the math sir didn't explain it to me in this way, but he proved it by action. He said, I will make all of you get 100. I was like thinking this is something. Right? I'm here, I'm barely passing 50, 60, and he's saying you all have to get 100. At first, it seemed like something is throwing at us. But he was very determined. He was like very determined. You have to pass, right exam. He will put us through the ringer. Now, once you, I don't know if you have experienced this as a child, once math is kind of the hardest. Many students struggle with it. Once you crack math, it's the confidence spills over into everything else. So now I started doing well in all the subjects. So the main lesson I learned, which since you asked how did it help you later on, is that effort and results are directly proportional. You are all given some amount of talent by God. All of us are given that. But it is the people that put in the effort that actually succeed. Now, I have a problem with the word success itself. I'll come to that next. But this is what I learned. So we had another brilliant teacher by name Panchapakesan sir, who used to teach Sanskrit for us. If I remember correct, Sharma sir used to teach Sanskrit first, and then Panchapakesan sir took over in the 7th or 8th grade. Okay, so from when we started Sanskrit, I have been doing Sanskrit from early days till 12th grade. I took it because I could score higher marks. And I did a good decision that way because Sanskrit, I did score very well, and that kind of helped me in my CBSE ranking also. My English was not that good. So the Sanskrit sir used to teach one sloka from the Bhagavad Gita. Okay, which is, I will say this to you, this is one of the most famous shlokas in Bhagavad Gita. Karmanyevadikaraste ma paleshu kadachana. Ma karma phala heturbu te sangostva karmani. So he would teach that and he will explain the meaning of it. And the meaning of it was do your duty and you don't expect results, something to that effect. It has a very, very profound meaning, which I would say I learned maybe when I was 40. I started to get a sense for what this is about. Until then, it was like a string of words which didn't make sense to me. So why I thought that this particular shloka was drilled into my head, it's just that I could not pay attention to it. We had to repeat it, we had to write the meaning of it. He made sure that we got this seared into our brain. Because I can still say the shloka after how many years. Even if you wake me up at midnight, I will be able to tell you this, even now. But what I grappled with was, what is the meaning of this shloka? Why do they say that results, you should not expect results, you should focus on the task? It's like, didn't make any sense to me. Okay, finally I realized the meaning, and I am not sure this is the exact meaning, but this is how I have interpreted it so that I have a model in my head. First of all, I learned that you should not deem something as a success or a failure. If you really deeply believe in the sloka and interpret it in this way, there is nothing called success or failure. Because success or failure are the fruits of that task, which is what Bhagavad Gita says, don't focus on that. Focus on the task. Now, does it mean that results are not important? This was my principal confusion. So is Krishna saying that results are not important? That doesn't make sense at all. How can you do something where the result is not important? The nuance lies in the fact that you are not supposed to get attached to the results. It is not saying results are not important. It's saying don't get attached to the results. Which means if there is no success or failure, what is it? Every task you do, you either hit the outcome you are looking for or not. There is a learning if you didn't. But even if you did the outcome, have you done it perfectly? Not possible. So there is a learning built into it. So if you're always looking at how can I improve, I'm not saying I do this everywhere. I'm saying this is my approach. So I try to do something. Can I do better? Can I keep on doing better? That's all I need to do. Success or failure is not important because the world is looking at it like that. And I think they have kind of put this meaning into our life that it is success and failure. Like if you did, like for example, if I got all India 18th rank, first rank, whatever, I am successful. If not, I am a failure. In fact, during my days, if you didn't do engineering, you are a failure. Luckily, now people don't view it that way. But in my age, if you didn't go to engineering or medicine, you are pretty much a useless character, which is completely incorrect, right? We are not teaching the children the right things. So this shloka is still in my head, and this is how I interpret life itself. So don't worry about, so when you ask questions about what is success, it doesn't matter to me. I am like, am I doing a better job than I did yesterday? Can I do this better? This is what my focus is. Yeah. I think this is a crucial thing, but your audience may not understand this. This requires a level of understanding of life that you don't get when you're that young. But we will put it out there because this is a journey that every one of us could take. At some point, we will realize this. This is nothing but karma yoga. In Hinduism, this is one of the 4 paths to reach enlightenment. So, karma yoga's foundational principle is this shloka. There is more. It says, okay, you want to practice this, here are the 10 things. They try to describe that also, what you should do, which is again not very simple. It's so hard to understand that you may never understand it even if you spent your entire life. So for some reason, our ancient people decided to make it so cryptic and hard to understand. Maybe because they are thinking that you have to put the effort in to really understand it. If it's just given to you in a platter, you may not realize the value of it.
Can you share a specific challenge you faced after graduation and how your experiences at our school prepared you to overcome it?
Yeah. So I studied in BITS Pilani. From Sankara school, I went to BITS Pilani and I got, because of my high rank, I got the electrical and electronics engineering subject, which I most wanted at that point in time. I don't know, there was no real rhyme or reason for me to pick that. Somehow it looked interesting to me because there was a course called electrical gadgets in Sankara school. Okay, so one teacher would come every week or every 15 days and help us build gadgets and things like that. Now, it has got nothing to do with electrical and electronics engineering, but it was fascinating to build these gadgets and things. Maybe that got into my mind. I'm not very sure. But the EG star, as we used to call him, had an impact on me, I would say. So I chose that. Now, what happened was, one of the things I realized, and I want to tell all the students that may be listening to it, is I really did not have the level of curiosity I should have had when I studied in BITS. In hindsight, I would prepare for the exam in the last day or so, write the exam, get the grade, pass. I mean, like I was just meandering through the course. But then luckily, I had a fellow student whose name is Srivatsan Parthasarathi. He was very addicted to programming. He was very passionate about it. So he would go to the computer center and start programming. And I used to tag along with him. I was like, why is this guy so interested in this? Maybe there is something. I went with him. So he was working on some high polluting program that I couldn't even understand. But I would write some calendar program, some basic program, and I was always writing programs. Because I had this thing that you want to learn something, you have to work on it, right? Which is the lesson that Rajendran sir had taught me. So I would also spend the time in the computer center. And when campus interviews came, it was a natural thing for me to go into the software industry. So, like I said, the lesson that Rajendran sir taught me is it's like a major shift in my mindset, right? It kind of carries out even now. Even now, I know that, okay, something I want to do, I'm going to keep at it until I get it. That persisting ability, right? Keep at something is something that still is with me. What I learned in the 11th grade.
How did you discover your passion or career path during your school days?
Yeah, school days, it was not clear to me. In fact, I didn't have any ambition at all. If you had asked me what was your ambition, I wouldn't. So it was kind of like, what can I say? The best way to describe this right now is a herd mentality. Everybody goes to engineering, so I went to engineering. It's kind of that. So the first time I think you can say I made a conscious decision, somewhat, not entirely very well thought out, was this thing about software. I was hooked. And I knew that maybe, and I also tested my hypothesis by doing my summer internship in a hardware company to see if there was something that if I went into software, would I miss out on something that, because I've studied hardware basically. Electrical and electronics is about hardware. So I went into the hardware last 6 months summer internship. It's called one whole semester we spent in BITS Pilani in the industry. So I took a hardware thing and then I realized, no, I want to do software. So, and I am now, even now I do software. It's like I'm most passionate about technology and software. You can say the electrical gadgets thing kind of, I think it's cute, nice, interesting. Something about like we used to build like a water level detector and some things. So I think that may have had a part. I'm not entirely sure because it's hard to see how the dots connect. So you just be curious and do many things, right? Something clicks is what I would say.
Can you share your journey from graduating at our school to founding your own company?
Yeah. So I always wanted to start something on my own. In fact, even during college days, me and my friends used to discuss, hey, we need to do so start something. That was always in my head. But the problem is with a conservative middle class upbringing, I am very risk averse. Very, very risk averse. Now I am in the corporate ladder. I also hit my dream job, which is that I wanted to be the chief information officer of a company, which I got that chance, luckily, in Cognizant, thanks to my management. As well as to drive innovation was another dream. I got that too. I became the global head of innovation. So I was at the peak of my career. And I was already like 46. I quit at the age of 46, approximately 46 and a half. I had this thought in my head, which is not again very rational, but this is the thought and I had. I have done my dream job 3-4 years, is very good. I am looking to do the next thing. I had this rule that I will do things only for 3-4 years. Even within Cognizant, I would switch my job and do some other thing to keep my passion alive. So I was at that point where I was looking for the new thing. And then I realized I'm 47. If I cross 50, I may not be able to start a company. Now that seems completely irrational now because I am now 56 and I have even more energy than I had when I was a 46-year-old. In fact, I have more energy than when I was a 25-year-old. So this is some irrational thought I had. That is one. Second, I had to reach a level of financial stability that I could start a company with assuming that I will not get any salary. So when people ask me, I tell this. You must have your family support when you're doing something. Second, you should have no major EMIs and things like that. Third, have you saved for your child's college education? This is getting very expensive these days. Like when I studied, or it was very, I mean, at that time it was still expensive, bits Pilani, but it is still very inexpensive compared to how much it is now. So if you have these three things, you can quit. I had reached those things, I quit. In some ways, it's a good decision because starting something at 47 is easier than starting something at 57, I'm sure. So it may have been irrational, but that's how I made that decision. So yeah, at the peak of my career, I quit. But I guess I have only one life. I want to try my hand. at this thing. And again, by conventional, this is where the success or failure thing comes, right? Am I successful as a company? I'm not very sure. But I'm enjoying it. It's good. It's challenging. That's how I look at it. I'm learning every day.
What inspired you to start your business after years of a successful career?
So, in fact, I started the company. One of the core beliefs I have is I assembled a team of 6 people. In fact, I didn't know what the company was going to do, but I started the company. Many people may not do what I did because many people think that you have to have an idea to start a company. My belief is I assemble a team and then the rest happens, which is what I have seen over and over in my career, that it is the people that create the ideas. So I think we will come up, we are already doing things. I am sure we will come up with something big over a period of time. So there is nothing, no idea. It's just that I wanted to start a company. In fact, the core idea of what we do today came from one of my co-founders. So that's how it is.
Would you like to share more about what your company does?
Yeah, sure. So I was, I mean, this is kind of like, I did not set out to do this, but it is like through the experiences we have had as a company, we have reached here. In Cognizant, when I was the head of innovation, we did this something called continuous innovation. I don't know if you've heard this phrase, continuous innovation. That is, whatever job you're doing, you do it slightly better and keep doing that. This is continuous innovation. So I was tasked with the job of building the culture of innovation at Cognizant. So I chose continuous innovation because I felt that almost everyone could do it. And my hypothesis proved to be correct. We were able to teach the continuous innovation techniques broadly to a lot of people. So by the time I left, Cognizant Associates are already delivered $1 billion of innovation impact to our clients, and around 75,000 people out of the 150,000 people were participating in the process of innovation. But the issue was, I was also parallelly in the quest to find a methodology for disruptive innovation. That is, how do I do breakthrough innovation systemically? Continuous innovation we are able to do. Why cannot I do breakthrough innovation systematically? This has been my quest, and I would say over the last almost 9.5 years now, 9 years and a couple of months. In Tiny Magic, we have a methodology that allow any team to come up with a disruptive innovation and execute it and bring it to life. So that's what we do. So generative AI is upon us. So we have leveraged generative AI and we are able to teach disruptive innovation using generative AI.
Can you share your perspective on the importance of social responsibility and sustainability in the modern business landscape?
Yeah, there are many answers to this, G and J. My answer goes to what my mentor said one day. He said, an entrepreneur who creates some jobs is being socially responsible. Now, in India, what is it that we need? We have 500 million people who don't have 2 meals to eat, even now. So we need more jobs, which means we need more entrepreneurs creating more jobs. That I believe is the foundational social responsibility we all have. In Tiny Magic, we can say we have created 10 jobs, and maybe we have some support, outsource, all that. Maybe we have created about 15 jobs, you can say. So this is good. So a Cognizant, right? When it started, they created now 300,000 jobs, right? So I think in India, in a country like India, the primary social responsibility for companies should be to encourage more entrepreneurship and create more ideas and create more jobs, which are not menial jobs, but they are meaningful jobs. This is not easy to do. Now, there are conventional aspects of corporate social responsibility and all that, which, yeah, everybody should do. For example, don't pollute the environment, don't overuse the resources, be conscious of the burden we are putting on the environment. All those things we need to bear in mind. But to me, the foundational responsibility is how many jobs have you created? In a country where 500 million people go to bed without having eaten 2 meals, this is just staggering level of poverty we have. So what are we all doing about it? So, I mean, do we give the money to them? Like, how do you fix this problem? And one way could be entrepreneurship. And the shining example of that I have seen is Muhammad Yunus in Bangladesh, the microfinance revolution that he created. In fact, he says that his business itself is a social impact business. So I have listened to his speech when he was in Chennai a few years ago. I had a chance. So he was talking about social impact. So I kind of pick up on that, and plus what my mentor said. So in India, if you are, I mean, it's unconscionable, you can say. After 70 years of independence, we have not able to take care of our people, feed them food, water, medicine. We cannot do that. So we need more entrepreneurs creating jobs, not create students who will go work in some company for a job. Yeah, that's okay. But if everybody does that, then we are not going to be able to solve this problem. So primary corporate responsibility is social impact. What have you created in India? What problem are you solving? Is it important for India? If you are not solving that kind of problem, I would question that. Not that that should not be done, because we do need various kinds of creativity. And being in innovation for such a long time, I don't reject any creative idea. All ideas are good. People should pursue them, because you'd never know which idea creates what kind of impact when you start off. But then, are the entrepreneurs in India thinking about, hey, how can I create more jobs, more meaningful jobs? And I am not sure that everybody is thinking that. Hopefully, they think that.
What are the core values or principles that guide your leadership style and decision making as a founder?
So the thing that, so I went through, and I don't think we have the time to describe this, but I went through a kind of a meltdown experience when I became a first time business leader. I was a technical leader at that point. I became a business leader, and I went through a meltdown. Right, I was on the verge of a nervous breakdown. I was about to quit, and luckily a mentor helped me come out of that, and I became a new man. So that new man kind of became, I have been now a mentor. That experience happened 25, 26 years ago. So I've been a mentor since then. So I believe that methods of influence, a influence-based leadership style is better rather than a command and control, authority, rule by fear. That I believe is out. It has been outdated for several years, but at least, in fact, several decades, I would say. But in 2024, if somebody is practicing that style of leadership, they are missing something. So I'd like to do a more influence-based. See, I will give you an analogy that my wife gave. So it's a brilliant analogy. She said that companies operate much like a juicery. You know what a juicery is? Take fruits, make juice, and spit the pulp out. Correct? So she says currently the way businesses run, they are like that. They they push the employees, put pressure on them, they make them do things, make the money, they extract the juice out of them and leave them out as pulp. And I see this a lot, especially in the IT services industry that I operate in. Many people are at 40, 45, they don't have any energy anymore. They are kind of spent, you can say. So then I asked her, hey, what should companies do then? She said we should be like a winery. Because in a winery, wine as it ages, it becomes more and more valuable. That's so this also kind of becomes corporate social responsibility in some way. So when your employees go out of your company, are they more valuable or are they spent resources? Why are we creating this kind of a pressured, stressful environment for our employees? Is there any earthly reason why we will do that? Yeah, we may not make the next quarter, but is it worth? I mean, this is like stunning how the world of business is operating. I mean, ever since my wife said this, I'm thinking like this is, yeah, this is right. I hope Tiny Magic doesn't become that. So I want to say, hey, what are my employees learning? Are they growing? Are they become better? So when they leave the company, they are like 10x more valuable when they joined it. And they still have the energy to go further, not they are spent force. Okay, I'm retiring and I'm going to now chill. This is not what the state I want my employees to be in. This is another corporate social responsibility, in my opinion.